Thank you to the Chicano Studies Research Center here at UCLA, because events like these are very well indeed throughout institutions like this one. So we appreciate a supportive system within levels of higher education. I have the wonderful task of moderating our amazing panel today. And before I do, I'm going to introduce the wonderful people who have taken time out of their very, very busy schedules and have traversed the 405 to get here to the west side. And a lot of us are from the east side, so we really, really do not like to cross the 405. I'm going to start from your right to left in terms of our introductions. Our first panelist is Eileen Michele Torres. Born in Los Angeles and raised in Whittier and El Sereno, she discovered writing as a passion early on in middle school. While attending Pioneer High School, she was an avid writer and contributor to her school newspaper and yearbook. She became involved in the Whittier party scene first by joining Just Us Girls, then later on was co-founder of TWS, Together We Stand. Through the party scene, she was introduced to Marty Beat of Street Beat magazine, and she became a contributor to the magazine from 1990 to 1992. And I asked her earlier, I was like, well, was that your press pass? You know, you were part of Street Beat? She's like, no, I just joined the party crew. That was my press pass. I was like, okay, that's legit, that's super legit, okay. The next panelist that we have here today is Rachael Ortiz, also known as Flame, who is a licensed esthetician, born and raised in East Los Angeles. She attended Garfield High School and shortly transferred to Schur High School after her freshman year. Here at Schur High School was where she was introduced to the party scene. She was 16 years old, where she found her passion for reshaping eyebrows for girls who had thinned them out to keep up with the fad of the time period, which is still a fad today for a lot of women as well. And I don't know if you know this, Ray Rose, but there are 2 graduate students here at UCLA that study Chicana eyebrow aesthetics. Yes, they have. I don't know if they've published. If you're here today, please raise your hand, because I'm totally giving you publicity for this. But I think they've even probably published a paper on the importance of the Chicana eyebrow. So let's welcome Ray Rose here today to our stage as well. Our third panelist, after Guadalupe, I'm going to introduce Manuel Corral, also known as Dose and Deluxe. He is from Baldwin Park in the San Gabriel Valley. Manny was a member from the notorious dance crew Swing Kids and served as their DJ in the 1990s. This was a very exciting experience, being the individual on the opposite end of the dance floor, spinning the music for the party crew. Manny was introduced to DJing at age 10 while helping his uncle, who was also a DJ as well. This led Manny to do many gigs, events for illegal underground and house parties, to formal events for clients such as Latina Magazine, Groove Radio, the Voodoo Lounge. After high school, Manny went on to become a certified addiction specialist and also has certificates in child development. He has worked as an alcohol and drug counselor briefly for over the years, before moving to his current work as an eligibility technician for Orange County Social Services. He has refocused his talents and effort and has returned to his roots of activism within the labor movement. He is a treasurer for the AFSCME Local 2076, also serves as its vice president. Manny continues his work in the entertainment industry at various capacities, such as a DJ, lighting designer, production grip, production supervisor, and most recently developing his work in photography and video production. He currently resides in East LA with his wife, niece, and 4 dogs. So let's welcome Manny as well to the stage. The fourth person I would like to introduce is Michael Rodriguez, who was also born in East LA and raised in Montebello and Norwalk, California. He was introduced to the party crew scene in the late 1980s and hosted house parties during the 1990s while he was in high school. Through these networks, he was introduced to the underground warehouse parties that he attended weekly both on the east side and west side of Los Angeles. It was through these channels where Michael began engaging in what is known as tea parties throughout the Los Angeles area, where he was able to find the Latino queer community and later became self-educated in the LGBT pop culture and history. Currently, Michael is a collector of party crew ephemera and was most recently a member of the Maricon Collective, functioning as DJ, social media creator, and archivist as well. Our fifth panelist, Carlos, exit Landeros. is from San Marcos, a city north of San Diego County. He was from a party crew known as Essence of Evil back in the mid-1990s. He joined the U.S. Navy in 95 and left in 98. He started barbering in 2008, opening up his own barbershop in Orange County. He has recently sold his shop, moved back to San Marcos, where it all began, and he now has a barbershop in Escondido, California. Now, last but not least, I have the pleasure of also introducing the mastermind of this event, Guadalupe Rosales, who is a visual artist whose work utilizes marginalized histories and personal experiences such as memory, trauma, nostalgia. She is currently working on a project dealing with Los Angeles party crew and rave scene in the 1990s that will be exhibited in 2017 at PSSST, an artist-run not-for-profit space in Boyle Heights. Yes, se llama, that's how it's called.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a secret. You have to talk to Guadalupe if you want to attend the exhibit. So let's welcome our panelists, please. I would also like to bring Guadalupe up. She has a couple of words that she would like to share with us today.
I left Los Angeles in 2000. I brought material with me that had sentimental value. I brought handwritten letters from teenage boyfriends, a shoebox full of wallet-sized photos that friends and relatives had taken at the mall, and photos I had taken at backyard parties. I also brought a few magazines called Street Beat. Handling these nostalgic materials, but far from a time and place they represent, inspired me to start the Instagram feed Veteranas and Rucas. Veteranas and Rucas serves as a digital archive where strangers, close friends, and family share a virtual space that speaks a language many of us can relate to. The attention that the Instagram has received has resurrected a part of history that hasn't been talked about or well documented, yet so many people were excited to see it come back. Working on Veteranas and Rucas made me realize how important this subculture is. This is when I approached UCLA Chicano Studies and proposed an archive project to start a collection based on 80s and 90s Chicano party crews and rave scene in Los Angeles. Flashbacks is a collection which consists of ephemera and memorabilia that highlights the Chicana and Chicano underground party crews and rave scene in Los Angeles during the 80s and 90s. These gatherings occurred in residential backyards and industrial warehouses throughout Los Angeles. This subculture phenomena could also be traced along California in cities such as Sacramento, Orange County, and San Diego, to name a few. Eventually, this underground scene moved into licensed venues and clubs such as Baby Doe's, Florentine Gardens, and Club Delight. Like all youth cultures, music played a key role. These house parties and raves were driven by techno, house, new wave, and K-rock / 80s flashbacks. Dancing, fashion, and a sense of unity were highly important. In an age before the internet and social media, partygoers utilized party lines or hotlines, where one dialed a telephone number found on a flyer, and a pre-recorded phone message provided directions to the party. Flyers were distributed around high schools and parties by party promoters and party crew members. Some flyers provided what we called map points. This talk and collection will work to highlight the organic and resourceful ways in which Chicana and Chicano youth cultures work to create and promote a more culturally relevant and self-reflective space that continues to influence today's Latin urban culture in Southern California. The party crew lifestyle was also embedded in messages of empowerment such as education, challenging urban Latinos, especially those within the midst of gang culture / party crew culture, did not think about graduating high school, much less college. The talk will also focus on reframing the party crew scene that has been seen on more negative terms or misrepresented. The panelists, people who were deeply involved in the scene, will challenge those stereotypes and will discuss what the subculture meant to them and share how these spaces and community were empowering. So the goals for this talk: the material will be accessible for others to teach, make work in response to / inspired by, acknowledge and establish this particular history. The reason behind this goal is based on my own challenges when I was looking for material. I realized how not much was out there. I could only hope this collection will continue to grow. Thank you. So I guess
I think you said you wanted to do the video.
I'm going to show a video of So I'm going to show a video that I feel that many of you are familiar with. So what I did, I made a compilation of pretty much the way we were misrepresented. And then we're going to break it down, and hopefully, I guess my goal is to reframe the history, through conversations. So here it is.
Black here shows another part of this growing trend, one that a lot of people won't like. No, they won't. These parties aren't taking place just at night or on weekends. Some of these party crews are encouraging teenagers to miss school. They say they are the new alternative to gangs. But tonight, Fox Undercover shows you what is clearly one of the most objectionable acts of the party crew, the ditch party. Here in Linwood, the music beats like the pulse of the party crew. Hats wave with crew names. World famous secretary. And members brag about their anti-gang philosophy. There's no fighting. If we fight, the only way we fight is on the dance floor and dance. But do they believe more in partying? Today is supposed to be a school day. This is called a ditch party. Sponsored by a party crew called Madness.
Just less of a crime to come to the ditching party instead of going out gambling. So instead of going to gambling, they much rather go for the parties and stuff.
Hundreds of kids who should be in school pack into ditch parties.
Because I don't want to go to boring. It's boring. I want to have fun.
It's boring, Mom. I like to eat pizza Friday.
And the quest for that fun spawns no shortage of ditch parties. On this Friday afternoon, we found 4 ditch parties in East LA within 3 miles of each other. A number of kids say they just come to dance and have fun. Many are not even old enough to drive, let alone drink, but they do.
Parents expect their kids to go out. Many of them drink, but many of them don't. They just gotta remember everybody's just here to have a good time.
It is a crowd that mixes lollipops with beer. Uses straws to drink an alcohol concoction called jungle juice from a 5-gallon can. Would probably have trouble spelling the word promiscuity. Faces still trying to sprout whiskey and blow out smoke. I'd rather party than go to school. Remember, these ditch parties start shortly after 9 o'clock in the morning.
Well, the intent, they say, is to have a good time, but the price for that good time can often be violence or even death. In an instant, a party scene can turn into a war zone. Tonight, a look at a few casualties. For them, the party's over.
The yard is crammed with people. It's a Sunday afternoon barbecue at a Rialto house. It's put on by a party crew called Clash. A crew called the Dogs is here too. There is dancing, and there is some heavy drinking going on.
And you only have to look at the hundreds of party advertising flyers to see that girls and sex are used as teasers over and over again. It is not unusual when a party crew bash sets off a chain of violence.
So, there you go. My point of showing that video was just to, I guess, show how we were criminalized and misrepresented on national television. And I wanted to change that. So, or we're gonna try to change that. So, I guess we'll start now.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm just going to open the floor up for everybody to sort of give us a little bit about your background. How did you come about or come introduced to the party crew scene? Where specifically was it located? Do you remember the party crew name? Because the party crew names are super important, right? Very special. And whoever wants to sort of take the microphone, and I can also pass the microphone over to anybody who wants to start.
My name's Ray Rose. I was in the party scene from about 1995 till its end in 1998. My name was Flame from East LA's Aztec Nation. When we had moved to Simi Valley in the early 90s, and we moved back to East LA in 1995, my mom took me to go enroll in high school into Garfield, and there was another mom and daughter enrolling at the same time. So, you know, our moms kind of small talked, we kind of small talked, and we went our own ways. I did about a semester at Garfield High School. It was very overwhelming, very overcrowded. In the beginning, we used to have to sit on the floor because there weren't enough seats as students. We used to have to share books. Even walking through the hallway, you know, was so super crowded. And at the end of the semester, I asked my mom, hey, you know what? Can I go to a smaller school? I think I'll do better. I'll be able to focus, and I actually feel more comfortable at a school where I know people. So she didn't have a problem with that. You know, I was a latchkey kid most of the time, so, you know, listening to me, she thought it was the best decision too. We went to Garfield High School to go get a permit and go check me out. And the same mother and daughter who we had first met were also in there getting a permit to go to the same school. Like, what are the odds? So our mothers kind of small talked again, and me and this girl small talk, and she's like, hey, you know, yo, do you party? And I'm like 14 years old, you know, so I'm like, yeah, I party all the time. But I didn't even know what partying was, you know, so she's like, cool, you know what, I'll get your number, let's party this Friday. And I was like, all right. So I went home with my mom, and I was like, Mom, please let me party, please. I want to make some friends. I swear. And my mom was like, you know what? I talked to her mom. Okay, it should be okay. So back then, we didn't have cell phones, you know. We had our landlines. I think I had like a pager. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with a pager, but they're like a little electronic device.
Oh, there's one right here.
Sample pager.
Exhibit A. So, you know, I'm like waiting for that phone call. I finally get that phone call. Okay, we'll be there in like 5 minutes. I'm like, all right. I keep looking out, you know, out the blinds. I don't know what to wear. And finally, you know, I hear the beep outside. So I go running outside, and there's this brown van. You know, we later called this the Aztec Mobile. So this brown van pulls up, and they slide open the doors, and it's like a hollowed out van. There's no seats at all in it, but everyone's sitting on the floor. There's like 10 people just sitting on the floor, Indian style. And I'm like, cool. I jumped in wherever I could fit. And I remember the van, like, you know, we're going to East LA somewhere. I was kind of new, you know, back to East LA. And then we're listening to deep house music the whole time. You know, we're like, doom, doom, doom. Everyone's laughing, and I'm just soaking it all in. So we go to East LA, turn on the music so we could hear where the party's at. And then all of a sudden we hear this bass. And then, you know, we look, and there's teenagers our age just walking all different directions to this, you know, house. And in the backyard you could see like the strobe lights. And then, you know, we all get off the car. Some of the people I was rolling with had jackets that said Aztec Nation embroidered on them with their nicknames on the front. And we walk into this party, and there's like so much going on. You know, there's different groups of people with their jackets embroidered. You know, there's like Luscious Ladies and East LA Madness and Rebel Madness. And there's one section where there's like a circle and they're breakdancing and pop locking, and then there's another section where there's these makeshift go-go boxes and girls on there just kind of getting their go-go on, and then, you know, you had your gangsters on the corner, kind of, you know, hidden in the corner, kind of drinking, and you had all these genres of people just in one place. And, you know, it was amazing. At that point, I was like, yeah, I want to be in this scene. I want to do this, you know? So it didn't take long to start going out with the girls. My mom sat me down and she was like, okay, listen, you could go ahead and stay out till 2:30 in the morning. You're 14 years old, but you got to bring your grades home. And the one day you don't, you know, bring home the grades, it's all over. And I knew my mom wasn't messing around because I brought home a D on my report card one time, and she waited. I couldn't talk on the phone for one whole semester until I got another report card. So I was like, all right, cool. All I have to do is good grades. Well, I'm just going to hit those books then and party my butt off on the weekend and be home. I'm home by 2:30. That was my incentive. So unlike what you saw in the video, you know, that actually drove me to do something positive. It drove me to do good in school. The girls I hung out with who were from my party crew, none of us drank, none of us did drugs. We were more into dance battles, you know. I used to be in gymnastics, so believe it or not, I could do windmills, I could steal a I could pop lock, you know. So we'd, you know, a battle would start and we'd go stand and see what was going on, and we'd like snicker and be like, all right, dude, hold my purse. You know, we'd go in. So there you go, girl.
So my introduction, I grew up in Whittier and the famous Whittier Boulevard, right? So I was in 10th grade, I was in honors classes, and one of the girls next to me was like, hey, do you party? Same thing. And I was like, no, what is that? She's like, don't worry, it's Sunday. Sunday, tell your parents you're gonna go to the movies and we're gonna come pick you up. So I was like, okay, because it's Sunday in the daytime. Whittier Boulevard used to pop in the afternoon on Sundays, right? So that's what I would do. I would go tell my mom and dad I was going to the mall. I told my mom the truth though. She was like, just be back me up by like 10. It's okay. So we would go meet at one of my friend's house and tell her what time I had to be home, and we'd go to the boulevard. We'd all go in cars, a bunch of cars, and we'd jump out and, you know, ride the boulevard and jump on the back of motorcycles. You didn't have to have a helmet back then, and just ride up and down and then be home by midnight, and that was fun. And so it just came to like, oh, we're gonna go to a party, pretty much the same thing as Rachael described, but it was fun. My crew, that first party crew, was just us girls. It was a bunch of girls from the Whittier Pico Rivera area. We never had to worry about a ride. We just had to tell what time we had to be home, and I was always able to get home on time. And I would stood in my honors program, and same thing, as long as I got good grades, I could say I was going to the mall every weekend.
Carlos or Michael, Manuel.
My name's Carlos. They call me Exeter. They still do. Just kind of went on. But it all started for me. I used to come up. My mom's friend lived in Baldwin Park, and I'd always listen to my headphones. And I remember one time I just heard house music, The Dome, you know, Power Tools, and what's this? And it woke me up. So I go back to school in San Diego, and I told a friend of mine, hey, this stuff, you know, The Dome and stuff called house music, and oh yeah, we're gonna go to a party. You should go this weekend. And they gave me a flyer, and it was Looney Tunes. And I remember it was December 19th, 1993, and I'm like, I gotta go. And I told my mom, can I go? And she, you know, I never did any of that stuff. And I'm like, come on, can I go and be back by? She'll be back by midnight. I'm like, come on. She's like, either be back by midnight or don't be back or you're not going. I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay. And this is before cell phones. So cell phones, they make you good liars. You know, now you're like, I'm 10 minutes, I'm on the road, I'll be right there, but you're just barely getting, you know, you had to be ready or you're gonna get left. So we get to this party, and back then it was a crew called Hit and Run, and they had from LA, they started one in San Diego. So I go with some girls that were hanging out with these guys from Hit and Run. All right, so we get to the warehouse, and it's this warehouse, it's a bunch of industrial little area, and okay, go. I'm like, what's going on? And just get in. They close the door. Security's driving by. All right, take the tape over there. They're taping up the windows, and I don't know anything that's going on. And then of course the truck and the DJ system is on the back of a truck, you know, with a generator. So the music starts, and people just start rushing in like crazy. And they go, cops, and I guess the cops showed up, and the roll-up doors go up, and I got lost from my friend. So just get in the car with that person. And then I just jump in a car, and it just looks like mayhem all over the place, and people are getting pulled over and stuff. But the entire time, like the lights and the music, I was like, dude, what is this? Finally, I find my ride at some other like after party, and I'm like, I gotta get home, and she's like, all right, let's go. So she dropped me off. Literally made it home like at 1, So it was actually it was midnight. I'm sorry, it was midnight. And then after that, I started talking to my friend more about more parties, and I had met a guy there one time. He was here, go here, and it was back then we didn't have social media. It was just little cards or these flyers, and that's it. And it was all wrinkled from the night before, so you're trying to make out the number. And it was down the street from my house, and I went, and back then it was all ages. So I mean, it wasn't, you didn't have to worry about like that thing, like I said, underage drinking and stuff. Maybe in some areas, but it wasn't like that all the time. So when they had these all ages things, they got really packed. And I met a friend of mine, and we just had common interests and dancing, and like she said, like battling, and it was. That's how I got introduced to it, just by talking to people. Now social media, you hit a like button, or you like, you know what I'm saying, and that's it. And back then you had to talk to girls, and you had to ask a girl to dance, and that's why I did it. The fashion and getting ready, and what are we doing this weekend? Let's go to the mall. And like malls are empty now, and back then malls were packed. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it. I just the whole rebel scene and like the vintage look, and I always liked that. I was always about the fashion and the dancing and the music, and to this day it still is. And through social media I found Veteranas Lucas, what's this, and how remember this song, and I know that guy, and it just blew up. So hopefully we can shed some light for you guys about what we were doing when we were your guys' age. So yeah.
I don't even know where to begin, because I'm really trying to figure out where did I start. Because my name is Manny Dose. My DJ name, DJ Dose. Dose referring to medication. If that makes sense to some of you. I can't really say where I started, because I work in so many different capacities. Being a DJ and being on the production side of things, I did events and I did gigs, so that was work. For me, it was work. It didn't get fun until maybe a couple years into it, when I was approached and asked to be part of a dance crew. I don't know if you have noticed, but I'm not really the dancer type. So how does this make sense? No, so you can play for us. Oh, okay, I could do that. And it was a match made in heaven. It was everybody that thought in the same way that I did, and we all had the same passion for everything. Even though I couldn't dance, or I didn't dance, I appreciate it. I understand the artistry that it's involved. It engulfs and engages people in ways like you see in some of that tape, because it takes you to a different place. And to be the guy that enables that to happen, because you're playing the right music, that's a whole nother ball game. So that's where I guess you can see how I jump in that regard. Being able to show up to a party and seeing a bunch of kids, even though I was a kid, rightfully so, but at that point, I was a working professional also. So it didn't take me very long to figure out, these guys don't know what the hell they're doing, and I can easily just kind of slip in and assert myself, and you never know that I was a part of that crew or whoever. As long as I got my records on the table, and I get a couple people dancing, okay, they're not going to mess with me. And then I play the music that we want to hear. And then that lasted maybe like 20 minutes before they start figuring, hey, this guy's not us, or blah, blah, blah. Okay, time to go. And that's how it would go. That's how it started in that respect, as far as being involved with swing kids. But I was doing these things and exposed to these things at a very young age. I mean, the way it worked for me and my family was I had an older sister. She's about 2-3 years older than me. And she couldn't go anywhere unless I went. So I was the ball and chain. So being 12 years old, do I want to watch, Friends? Or do I want to go to the arena on a Tuesday night? I think I'll go to the arena on a Tuesday night. I know Tuesday night was gay night, but it's better than being home and watching, Friends or whatever, right? And then I paid attention to the music, and that's when it really took hold, because I was DJing, but this is, quinceañeras, sound events. It wasn't anything that I like to do. But then when I went to the arena and I heard DJ Eileen play, the one thing I couldn't figure out is how did she transition from one song to the next? Because it was a continuous mix. So I'd be paying attention to that one time, okay, and I'll be checking out that girl, hopefully it was a girl or whatever. And then I pay attention to the music again. I was like, wait a minute, how does she switch it? Oh, and it was all over. That continuous mix, that ability to go from one song to another song to even different types of songs and still keep people on the floor, that's what's got me. I don't think you can change that for anything. But again, that's me. Put on.
Hello, I'm Michael. How I discovered it was going out with my aunts. My aunts would babysit me. And they were all from this group called the Casanova Strippers, I guess that was their name. So I was exposed to all that very young. And it, like her, I would go to Whittier Boulevard with them. I would have to lay down in the back of the car so they can do their thing. And just from there, I building out more and more and learning about that lifestyle. And from there, I started hosting my own parties, and at the time, I would go by this name called King Koopa. So I'd throw all these like house parties. Well, I'm from Norwalk. I would throw these house parties, and then from there, I got introduced to like the underground, like the Latin underground. Those guys were all my buddies. Who else? There was like Mr. Flashback, Dr. Cisco, and all these guys, and I discovered the East LA rave scene at that time. So we would. Just about like, man, it was just about the music. It was all about the music. And then from there, I discovered the arena. And that's where I also discovered myself, is at the arena. And the whole Tea Party scene.
Can we have a moment of silence for the arena? Because if you don't know, that area is being gentrified as we speak. So the arena will no longer exist in the next handful of years.
Yes, and then there was another club called, it was, before Scandal, it was called Que Pasa Papi. And then that was another scene that I'd never seen, Mexican boys in G-strings ever before that. So then, yeah, I just been all over town.
Michael, can you talk a little bit more about, because you talk about how you went to tea parties, right, which were specific towards the queer Latino community, or was it any queer community that was a part of these rave scenes?
It was more towards the gay Latino community.
And was it because normally at the party crews, queer men and women were ostracized, or was it, Guadalupe talked about a sense of androgyny that the party scene sometimes also had. But it's interesting that you have, these tea parties that are sort of a subset of the party scene crew.
I think it was a place for our own. That's what it was. When you go to the raves were a little bit more, they embraced it more than the house parties. The party crews not as much. But when you started going to the raves, that's what the, 93-ish, is when Deluxe came out and everybody started dressing really 70s and groovy, because everybody wanted to be that way. And there was a little more acceptance because I guess Madonna's Truth or Dare came out at that time. So a lot of, it was really starting to become a little bit more in the mainstream. And also everybody started to come out as bi, because that was your safe to come out as bi at that time. So we would go to these tea parties. Like there was a famous one named Miss Martin. She would always have these El Sereno area, and it was where the neighborhood kids that were gay can all, come in one place together.
So building a sense of community. Can we talk a little bit about that sense of community that maybe the club scene that was more mainstream wasn't giving all of you as part of these party crew scenes?
Well, because even in the rave scene, there was subcultures. Like if you wanted to dress like Delight, I guess you want to say, or a groover was one that was by the speakers. Or there was the Rebels, they were the pretty straight boys. So,
pretty straight boys.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, like you said, community and stuff. There was a club called the Boogie in Anaheim, and Anaheim is pretty safe, And I remember we used to go into backyard parties and warehouse parties in San Diego, and we all got our jackets with our crew on the back, and 501 jeans and shaved heads with long bangs, and we go to these clubs and dress code. What? And we're like, dress code, and then people are walking by dressed the same, but just because we're not, just pretty much we don't look safe, or they don't know who we are. There are some clubs where you couldn't, dress code. That was the way I guess the politically correct way to get rid of people back then was dress code. Sorry, no white shoes. Sorry, no, you know what? Bald head. Sorry, that's when we used to party a lot in Tijuana, and over there after a while, a lot of guys, a lot of gang members wanted to be a part of the whole hooking up with chicks and being a part of a crew, but not worried about the drama of gangbanging. So they tag along with you to clubs, and then, nah man, you can't get in, man, no bald heads. And so there were some areas where it wouldn't be like he's, you know, like Mike said, the arena was a place where it didn't matter age, it didn't matter. Like there was no, I mean, there'd be white people, black people, you name it, everybody was just partying. And there were some clubs that, yeah, you just, we did it just, you hang out with somebody because they get you. It's like college, you know, you got the nerds, the preps, the jocks in high school. It's you just feel safe, and you not even safe, just have something in common with them. So we did warehouse parties and you would put shout outs to this crew or to that crew because you knew them, and then they'd back you up. Like, we're gonna go battle these guys, or we're gonna throw a party together, and then his DJ and this DJ, and that's how you kind of, you know, like clicked up, you know. So yeah, definitely there was a bit of, you could say, community where we'd come up, where you guys from? San Diego? What, San Diego? Oh, you guys are from San Diego, and you know, I got a cousin that lives down there, or vice versa. And sometimes they didn't like us. You know, F San Diego, get out of here. It's like, okay, you know, but that was more just because Latinos are territorial, you know what I'm saying? It's just how it is. But for the most part, you know, everybody, you guys came all the way up here, what? You know, I remember a little hole in the wall, Distilleries nightclub in Escondido. There'd be a line around the corner. We'd be like, dude, there's people, where are you from? Oh, Rialto, bro. I was like, Rialto? Where's that? You know? I went to the Dome, had a Power Tools 30th anniversary, and I remember on a flyer, Rachael Martinez, that was her name. She lived in Chino Hills, and she gave me her pager number. I remember that. And I had to, like you said, I had to get out to Thomas guy. Where's Chino Hills? And I had the San Diego County one, so I had to go like to like a bookstore and actually look at an LA County one. And Chino Hills, I'm like, that's far. But yeah.
The fact that you use a Thomas guide, flashback.
Thomas guides or maps.
No Google Maps.
Google Map on paper, exactly. But yeah, so I mean that's one thing I think personally that it kind of just, you know, brought everybody together, like-minded. Like I said, you know, whether it be the music or the style, you know, from our scene, a lot of designers came out, a lot of, you know, hairstylists came out, a lot of trends came out, you know, Pumas, fat laces and stuff, all that. You know what I mean? Like my wife's into she's taking like fashion right now, so like we used to do that back in the day, you know, you get like a vinyl skirt, and like a girl wore like a vinyl skirt, and you know, groovers wear like vinyl backpacks, and now you see them like at, you know, Old Navy and stuff, and that's stuff we were doing back then.
Yeah, can we talk about how the party scene crew was very do-it-yourself? This is DIY before DIY became what we now know it today. Can we talk about how you all were like really the starters of Rascuache, of putting stuff together from whatever it is that you had resources or access to as communities that are part of working class, immigrant, Latino, Chicano communities in Southern California?
Well, I guess I could speak to that. That right there, perfect example. Do it yourself. Bring something so we can listen to. So I have a tape deck, cassette player. Yeah, they still exist because I'm gonna play this tape if I can. That's doing it yourself. Absolutely. I figure out a way to make it happen. However it needs to happen, we'll figure it out and we'll make it happen. If you know, Manny has, you know, access to sound gear, okay, get Manny, make sure he hooks up with so and so we can set it up. Okay, it has to be there. Well, you know what? Manny doesn't drive. Oh shit. Okay, what do? Well, we have to get somebody else to get a van to get that from point A to point B. We did it ourselves because there was no resources. We were the resource.
The mic broke, so use the headphone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. The mic breaks. You unplug the headphone. You put it in the mic jack, and you're. That's exactly what it would sound like.
Pretty much.
But yes, everything was absolutely do it yourself because none of this was authorized. You know, we didn't have permission to go in that backyard because, you know, they went to TJ, the parents. Okay, well, we got it for the weekend. Okay, let's make it happen. You did it yourself. You know, you figure it out how to do it. You get it done, and that's, I mean, power in numbers. It wasn't you by yourself. It was somebody and somebody and somebody and somebody, and before you know it, you have a good night.
To talk about the fashion part of it, they didn't use self-distressed jeans, okay? So we had to distress them ourselves. We bleach them, cut them up. The guys, the rebels, they would fray the bottom. Remember that? They'd fray it themselves. You could probably buy them like that now. So those are some of the things that we used to do, DIY fashion.
So I threw one event. We threw it with two other party crews. It was an event we put together ourselves. And at that point, you know, I was like, hey mom, we're gonna have the meetings down here. Is that okay? My mom would be like, yeah, with who? Be like, oh, Playboy, you know, from Careless. And she'd be like, oh, okay. She'd come outside, hey, Playboy, do you guys want something to eat or something? Like, so, you know, these teenagers trying to throw adult events, and it was like, okay, you know, we had a piece of paper, and I remember we took forever to even come up with a name. We were doing it for Labor Day weekend, and finally at the last second, we're like, double the fun plus one. Yes, that's the name right there. So then we sat down, and they were like, okay, well, we could, you know, we're gonna build some go-go boxes for your events, you know, and I'd be like, okay, I know some hoochie mamas I could call from Playful Lovers and get them up there. I check, okay, sweet. Who's gonna do security? And we were like, okay, we could, we'll get the girls to search the guys, and the guys to just like look at the girls, and cool. So okay, security. And here we are, you know, kids trying to make adult decisions. We got a abandoned warehouse for our Saturday event. All in all, you know, we had someone for the flyers, Little George from East LA Madness, and all in all, our event, and we were so stressed out. We made $3,000, and we split $1,000 each crew. A lot of it paid for a lot of stuff we had put in. You know, my mom was like, you know, what are you doing? And I was like, oh man, I'm making Jello shots, and I need to hide it from her.
3,000 Jello shots.
Yeah, it took me all day.
Real quick with that whole, you know, do yourself thing. Like you said, I mean, we had, you know, like Manny, like he was saying, you know, okay, he's got the equipment, he's got this, he's got that. You know, these crews, it was, you know, it was like Voltron, you know, okay, you do this and you're good at that and you're good at that. You know, one guy got the chicks, one guy was the best dancer, one guy was a DJ, and you know, we would make these flyers, you know, like just, you know, these flyers, and all we had was a pager, you know, and it'd be like, you know, you would pay for the amount of message you wanted to put. So we did, okay, parties this day, take the 5 North, take this, and then, you know, and that was it. And people had to keep your voicemails blowing up because people were just like calling in and listening in. And, you know, we made our flyers. You know, somebody would make, you know, the drinks. We had photographers back then, you know, like the cameras, you know, just, you know, sitting there and just taking pictures. And it was all, we did it, you know. We didn't, not that we couldn't afford, but there were no clubs, there were no parties, nobody played certain music, so it was up to us to, hey, well, let's go to Riverside and talk to Homeboy, see if he can come to this party for us. And then we're driving up there, and then when people hear about it down here, and now we need promotion, and now we have to go out there and talk to those chicks and give them flyers of the party, and yeah, everything was pretty much done by us. You know, we were able, and in its infancy, we were able to kind of, I guess, like mitigate and dictate what was going into it. You know, once it blew up to where it got commercial, and hey, raves, you could go to like on Melrose and just go to like to Tower Records back when it was around, and oh look, EDC, oh cool, and you know, and it wasn't like that back then. If you got a flyer, it was because
you got chosen.
You wanted to go. Yeah, and then oh, this is gonna be good, and oh, this crew, they throw a good party, let's go. You know, all Aztec Nations, they're bomb, let's go. Like that's how it was, all just us. You know. Definitely.
Carlos and everybody else earlier mentioned about how social media wasn't a part of, you know, the party scene, and you have here brought examples of different magazines that we now have as documentation, right? Precious documentation, as Guadalupe can speak to, of, you know, photographs and columns, but also what we've noticed is that, for example, in Street Beat magazine, you have people encouraging the party crew members to go to college, to graduate from high school. I mean, half of our panelists were like, I had to ask permission from my parents to participate in a party crew, which is completely sort of challenging the narrative that undercover Fox News represented on national television. Can you sort of speak about, you know, being a part, or maybe Eileen can talk about, you know, contributing to Street Beat and what it meant, right? You found yourself in one of the magazines too earlier, so just sort of talking about, you know, having these archival materials at hand for those of us who weren't a part of the scene or weren't born during the scene.
So I came into this because of Marty Beat. You don't know Marty Beat. He should be here, but he's not. He's the founder of Street Beat magazine, and he was probably like 30-ish, and when we were all teenagers, right? Everybody knows him. And he just felt it was important to show, you know, to shed our community in a great light. Joe said he saw a sister in here and she's like student of the month or Latina of the month, academic. And he always made it a point to not only capture the party scene, but to capture the other aspects. And that was a blessing to be a part of that. It wasn't, not to talk bad about like lowrider, but it wasn't all about girls and G-strings and cars. It was not to talk bad. But it was, it was really showcasing the good about us. And that was a blessing to be a part of. And again, he just made sure that we always had some kind of spotlight or good in the magazines.
That little archive thing that Guadalupe showed was, it's not that it's not accurate. It happened. I mean, we were also saw some parties that were pretty bad, but I think at least all of us here on the panel, like myself especially, like I know, like my parents, I'm first generation, so my parents came from Mexico, so it was like, where do you think you're going? No, get back in there, do your homework. No, you're not gonna pick weeds like me. Get back in, So the whole thing about good grades and all that. I mean, I can tell you anybody like in my crew like went to school and had chores and that's why we got to go out, which is why it looked so crazy when we'd go party, because we were letting off all that steam because we were just, Monday through Friday, that was it. Friday night, Sunday, it was go crazy, but it was a lot of responsibility. So what you see, I mean, there was another element there, but for the most part, I guarantee all of us, no, hey, get back in the room. Where are you going? No, let's go. And there were times I hate my mom, whatever, because my friends are there honking, let's go, fool. Like, my friend just got CK1, the other one got Drakkar, like, yeah, okay, let's go. Can't go, dog. Like, get ready, let's go. I'm like, no, hey, mom, please, can I go? Nope. You need your home, I'll do it right now. Nope, so yeah, I mean, definitely, that was how we, like, let go of steam, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we had to lie a little bit, obviously, we weren't all saints, but, you know what I mean, we didn't do anything other than stay out late, or, somebody passed a joint, oh, what is that, what I'm saying? But it was mostly just to get out and have fun. So.
Can we also talk a little bit about retrospective? Because now, when some of you have mentioned it, now we have the explosion of the EDM community, right? With Electric Circus and all of the other really crazy rave festivals that have become super commercialized and capitalized upon, right? Can we sort of discuss, how do you see this sort of scene that has really blown up in the last 10 years? And it comes from these house parties. The inception literally was, I think earlier we were talking about Coachella and how Coachella is not the Coachella we know today, right? And all these other spaces. I don't know, Manuel or Michael, if you can talk about these sort of experiences.
Absolutely, I could talk to that a little bit because, when did I get involved? Significantly, 95. And that was an excellent year in regards to the music. Everything from my experience was driven by the music. Yeah, you had other elements there, like the drugs and everything else, but it's the honest truth. It wasn't what was portrayed. That's what got you to watch. That's not what actually happened. Okay, but you don't want to be ignorant and say that didn't exist. Yeah, it did exist. But for me, in my experience, it wasn't necessarily for that. Eventually I figured out, well, if you do that, a better experience, okay? But that's everywhere. That's everywhere you go. It doesn't mean, it doesn't focus on this particular community of individuals. It's everywhere. Look through history. But as far as the commercialism goes, yes, it did. The inception was what you see before here, us. We were that. We laid that foundation. And it didn't take someone too long to figure out that they can make a lot of money doing this. Okay, these things were organized by children, by kids, teenagers and young adults. Okay, when you got someone that has any kind of sense, business sense, it didn't take very long to figure out, hey, wait a minute, if I do it this way and that way, and I can actually have a professional production and get real good talent, I can make some money. And that's how they started. I remember doing a gig for this one promoter guy, and his little party was called Smaller. And it was literally like a small thing. And he was kind of like making fun of the fact that his parties weren't these big old things. And at that point, they weren't even that big. And then it grew, party after party, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then he didn't call me back to help him do his lights anymore. I was like, oh shit, he's making some good money now, because he doesn't need me. And then I see the flyer about maybe a year afterwards. Oh, it went, and it was literally called Bigger. Because it had grown that large. It was a legitimate party. You wouldn't think this guy started for nothing in a little crappy warehouse next to a strip club. That's how it. To see these things blow up to the extent that they are, I mean, it's to me it's transcended where its roots are, and it's just a money making thing. That's it. I mean, how much does it cost to go to DC? I can tell you how much the first one cost because I was there, and it wasn't no couple $100. No, it wasn't. It was $35. Whoa, and that was a lot of money in 1996, I believe. That's a lot of money, but I wouldn't pay for multiple weekends.
I mean, I think that also brings about a lot of issues. Like if going to a festival is a couple $100, who has access to pay to go to a festival that costs $200, right? Who has the means to be able to do that? And also the transition of how Fox News created this narrative of illegality, right, underground, but now we have this lawfulness, right? You have the police force that is a part of the like EDM community trying to sort of police and make sure that everything is safe for everybody. And so it's really fascinating to see when it changes hands, how it becomes legitimized depending on who it is and who's at the head of the
or what gets compromised. Because things change. You know, money changes everything. I don't remember things when I first started getting involved. It was never about the drugs. And all of a sudden, ecstasy, and everybody's doing it, and people are falling over, and then people are dying. People are going to the hospital. Okay, that's very, very serious. And to the point where we know we can't eradicate this. We cannot police this. So let's try to help this. And there was a community or organization, I don't know who was organizing them, called Dance Safe. These people will go to these raves and test the ecstasy to see how pure it is so that you don't die. So that you make sure that whatever it is that you're going to do, we can't prevent you from doing it, you're going to do it anyways. Well, let's at least make sure that you're safe while doing it. That's amazing. Because you couldn't take that part away. It had gone compromised to the point where you couldn't stop that momentum. And that's not how it started. I mean, those are some early footage of things prior to how big the raves became, and it's alcohol and maybe marijuana. Okay, you find that at maybe not every, you'll find that at a lot of commonplace in your own family parties. Same thing. You look at your family party, you've got the uncles drinking over there, and you got the women gossiping over there. Same difference. We emulate where we come from. That is where we come from. So it's no different than what we all go through every day.
Michael, as part of Maricon Collective, how have you seen the rave scene sort of change or evolve for the Latino queer community in Southern California?
The collective was never part of the rave scene or anything like that, but as far as, there's just different scenes. It all depends on what you're into. I'm so old now, I don't go out that much anymore, guys, but
confession.
But it all depends on what you get yourself into. You get yourself into that situation. But going back to the raves, at the house parties there was drugs. There was the nitrous and all that. I mean, you can't say there wasn't drugs, but there was drugs, and it was up to you if you did them or not. But myself, I was in there just for the music. It wasn't for any of that stuff. But I don't know anything about the gay and raves. I don't know it anymore.
I think it's going to be time to open up the floor for audience questions. Anybody who would like to ask our panelists any question, we would really appreciate anybody who would have any input or wants to ask Carlos, Michael, Manuel, Guadalupe, Ray Rose, and Eileen any burning questions at this moment. You can raise your hand and I'll come up to you with the microphone. Yes.
This question's for the gentleman that's a part of Maricon Collective.
Michael.
You said that you used to hang out in El Sereno and you would participate in, I guess, gender or gay tea parties. Can you describe the scenario? I'm from El Sereno. I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, so you would just call a hotline, or your friends would know about them, and it would just be a house party full of gay people. They would have performances. There would be some drag shows sometimes. But yeah, that's where like the gay homeboys went. There was the the boys that had style. They would show up, and it was just a gathering of young gay youth queers.
What about music? Was the music?
Oh yeah, the music was like they play like I'm like 92, 93ish is when I'd go. So it'd be like MK. It would be like MK. There would be just all the new house music at that time. Frankie Knuckles. It'd be to go back to Delight. Eddie X was at that time. And we were all too young to go to 21 and Over Club, so we would listen to all this through our, the older gay guys' tapes. Or there would be a collaboration of like disco, so like it would be like Lime and just all the the older stuff with the newer stuff. Yeah, so it was just a mixture of everything. But it was a house party. It was basically like a straight house party, but just all gays.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm also from El Sereno, so it's a kind of coincidence. In any event, I enjoy following the Instagram page. I learned about it through a friend of mine. I personally wasn't involved in the party scene. I think that I admired it at the time. I went to Wilson High School, and I remember kids would like put all their flyers on their notebooks. Everybody's had those notebooks with like the clear plastic covers, and you were cool if you had them. And I was probably guilty of putting them on there, even though I never went to a party. But I was curious. Every time I look at some of those photographs on the Instagram, I always wonder, I wonder what that person's doing now, where are they now type of thing. And do you get any of that, when people submit their photographs?
You mean like if people are curious to know what they look at, what they're doing, what they look like now?
Yeah, just what are they doing now? Like,
oh yeah,
now,
well, I try to build relationships with people that submit photos, and so I know like their background of what they're doing now. And people do comment on the photo saying, if I'm going to post a picture of who they are now, I think a lot of people are curious. I'm not sure that answered your question. Or are you? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does. I think I was just because, I had seen like that Flocks Undercover stuff. I mean, and I remember it from before. And then I noticed, when you were asking for submissions, and you specifically said, we got the Fox Undercover stuff basically covered. Does anyone have any other, footage, which I understand now, which is, in a positive light. And so I guess to kind of counterbalance that, people who are still to this day not really familiar with like what the scene really is or was about, to see, like you thought that maybe these were people who never went to school and all it was about ditching parties and stuff. This is actually a group of successful people, and this is where they're at today.
Well, I think the Instagram inspired me to start this conversation, and that was one of the reasons why I feel that I noticed that people will comment on photos, saying negative things about people. And then, people will respond to it in a more positive or just more realistic way, by saying things like, I'm doing this, like let's say I'm successful, I'm happily doing whatever, rather than, for example, I'll read comments like someone saying, I bet this woman is a single mother with 12 kids who had kids at the age of 12. So what's happening also is that, in a way, a lot of us who contribute to the Instagram, we're almost like reframing the history, not purposely, like it's happening through conversations. It's happening through people defending themselves, speaking up, and I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen with this collection. Just like shine some positive light to it.
Hello everyone. First of all, thank you for sharing your memories, experiences, and also reflections of the time period. What I wanted to ask you is about the party crew names, which I find them quite fascinating in how they're culturally, ethnically identified. And this is in the 90s, in a period of Proposition 187, 209 to 27 that were aimed to basically marginalize and disenfranchise people of Latina origin. So I wanted to know, what is your take on those, on the party crew names? What were the conversations to come up with a party crew name? And in perhaps in your retrospect, what do you make out of the different names that originated within the scene? Thank you.
Well, for me personally, it's just showing pride for being a person of color, being from the Raza and East LA. I found this, and I'm going to read this quickly. It's a letter from the senior editor, Street Beat magazine. It says, "To the Raza of Aztlan, Street Beat has reached levels in its short existence that we have never dreamed possible. You gente have helped Street Beat to be where it is now. Since it is your magazine, we hope you will get involved in the Raza movement for peace and unity as one. Let us fulfill our dreams to bring love, unity, and peace. Write to Street Beat. Let us read your thoughts. Call and let us hear your voices. Let us see you. To photograph your beautiful smiles. Raza, you are number one. So let's go down that golden road called peace and love. It will bring us all unity, peace." So there's that for starters. I don't know if you guys want to talk about your.
Kind of just to echo all of that, I did co-found a party crew. It was a co-ed, boys and girls, and it was Together We Stand. And most of our flyers, that was our little symbol, like that. And it was just about brown pride and being proud of who we are and where we come from, where.
The party crew names, right now, when we had mentioned, the discussion and stuff, everybody would throw ideas together. I remember there was in San Diego, they from LA, and it was a group of they were gay club kids. They called themselves the Happy Face Kids because they were always happy and they always had stamps and they'd stamp everybody. And that was their name. We came up with Essence Vivo just because if we went, we were just young, skinny Mexican kids, but one of our guys, he was in a fight one time, and that fool got crazy, and it just kind of, you would give yourself a name that kind of, with us, we just felt like, okay, we're cool, we're happy-go-lucky, but don't mess with us. Either on the dance floor, either with DJing or with anything, There were nocturnals. There was all these names you would give yourself to identify it. The name of the party group pretty much identified that group. So that's how you came up with a name, be it demons. These guys were all like big guys. It just all these different names. That's how you would pretty much pick them. Just a bunch of friends get together and, hey, well, I don't know, we like to dance and this and that. Okay, swing kids, boom. And it's just, that's pretty much how it would come up, at least like on our end, to kind of if you said the name, ooh, you knew who they were. There was a crew called Latinas in Control Crew, Lick. Like, oh, in your mind. So that's pretty much how you would all just kind of brainstorm and think of a catchy name so that you could yell it, or people you put on your hat, because your hat was your badge. That was, you walked into a party. Oh, so you better make sure you have a really good name so that everybody knows who you are. And that's who I identified with. So, yeah.
Hello. I love the name Latinas in Control Crew. And kind of related to that, I was interested in hearing more about how these party crews or dance crews were spaces for empowering young women, because I know the Fox video says it's sexualizing these young women and they can't even spell promiscuity probably, but I've seen videos where a lot of girls claim their own bodies and they proclaim that they're only going to dance with each other and their own girlfriends, and men can't touch them, and I would like to hear more about that. How it was a space for empowering young women is the question.
I think it was up to the individual. I mean, for me and the girls from my crew, we would get into dance battles. You know, we were more into the dancing aspect of it. We weren't, you know, nothing was coming off. There were times we'd battle mostly guys. You know, we'd battle other girls. Touching on the nickname thing, I had long red hair. They'd call me Flame, and at the end of my little dance battle, I'd say, "Ooh, you got burned." You know, so things like that, you know, definitely empowered. You know, it built confidence. You're ready for the next dance battle. Everybody might have seen you in that dance battle, and they're like, "Oh, there she goes." You know, if your name's on flyers, people know you. So it's all what you make it. You know, there were other girls who went the other route, and so yeah.
Another question right here.
Hi, my name is Rochelle. I'm from Rialto, represent. Funny. You never hear the like, people don't ever know where Rialto is, and with the exception of these circles where, I don't know, Rialto's on the map at the house party crew. But I was just curious. I really, first of all, respect you, Lupe, for doing all of this to validate our stories. I'm a Chicano studies major, so I've been thinking about these things in my bedroom for a long time. My parents never let me go anywhere, so I didn't get to go to a party, but I grew up in this time, and as I looked back on my own history and the spaces where we were able to validate our, in an authentic way, who we were, these are the places. And I posted a video the other day on Facebook of some like old ditching party in Rialto, and it's so fucking amazing because they're so entrepreneurial and so ahead of their time, without the internet, without this, you know, mass audience where, you know, right now it's such a different world. We're basically, when the internet came about, we might as well have like invented the wheel again, because now we can all connect to each other in such a different way. I want to know, what's your vision for this? How can, you know, and also in the same sense, I also want to say to stay creating an authentic space where we don't have to lie about, yes, there was fucked up shit going on at these parties too, dude, you know, but at the same time, they were also spaces of empowerment, and there's this ambiguity there, and so with that being said, you know, like, what is your vision for your art, and what do you want to do? And if you need help, here we are.
Well, in terms of this collection, and well, I want this discussion, this panel, to be seen as more like an introduction and invitation for others to, you know, aside from embracing a history and subculture, it's also an invitation to make it grow. You know, there's a lot of material, there's a lot of history that needs to be preserved, and as Latinos, as Chicanos, as people of color, and you know, we just have a hard time doing that because we are often, you know, like criminalized, penalized, and I feel like this is our time for us to, you know, just reframe our histories and our experiences. So that is my goal. You know, I feel like I want people to be inspired, you know, just to not be ashamed, you know, because I feel like that's something that was put upon us. I think it's harder for us to have pride because we are taught to, you know, that it's a lot of things that we do is seen as a negative thing. And also, you know, like, it doesn't matter what we do, there's that question of, well, was there violence, were there drugs? And that's something that I'm not interested in having. Like, I don't want to talk about that because it's almost, it's exactly. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Carlos Maldonado, and I'm originally from a small town called Avenel. It's by Bakersfield, Fresno area. Anyway, so I didn't get involved in the LA party scene, but I did know about the parties from my uncles who had friends who would come to LA, they would party, and I was introduced, the first person I was introduced to was DJ Irene, and that was back in 2001, I believe. It was a house party, and so my question, understanding the context of schools and understanding the context of the parties that I view them as more than parties. There were sites for validating our identities. What did it mean to have a Chicana lesbian be the one who was playing the music that oftentimes included the voices and the personalities of queer Latinas, queer transgender women? What did it mean for all of you, or whoever wants to share about that? What did it mean to have a Chicana lesbian be the one who was validating your ethnic or your queer identity?
Well, I think I can speak a little to that. Like I mentioned earlier, my involvement had a lot to do with my older sister. And my older sister was really close with Irene. And that's how I got to know Irene, and developing as a DJ and, you know, circling the circles that you go through, you know, you develop those relationships. And I got to know Irene very well, and I got to know her past. And to try to answer your question, what did it mean for a Latina lesbian to provide this place or this time of empowerment? I think that's fucking awesome, without a doubt, because she broke barriers in a lot of different ways that a lot of us may not understand. You know, I remember hearing, of course, how difficult her situation was. I remember her, my sister telling me about a phone call she just ended, where Irene was very upset because she was living out of her car and they threw a brick through it. How horrible is that? Who does that? And look at where she's at now. Look at the success that she's able to attain by breaking those barriers and sticking and being true to herself. That she's a prime example of how she enabled a lot of empowerment for a lot of individuals in the LGBT community. I mean, I don't know how else I can put it, because I mean, I'm very fortunate to have been there. There's all these little steps, and seeing her develop into this big, huge celebrity that she is now, because she is.
I think hearing his side of it, you know, he personally knew her. Me, being from San Diego, I don't know if you've heard a few people talk about the arena, and for those of you guys that don't know, it was a club, just an all-out club, but it was a venue where all lines were blurred. You could be gay, straight, club kid, Mexican, black, groover, rebel. It didn't matter. You just paid $5 to get in, and there was a hot dog lady selling hot dogs outside, and that was it. So there was no, you know, I remember we're going to the arena. Where's that? Oh, let's go. And from San Diego, it's like a good hour drive. So we there yet? Okay, Hollywood Boulevard. Right, cool, Sunset. And then we finally get here, and we park, and you're seeing like chicks in skirts and heels, and you're like, dudes, oh, you know, you're getting excited, and you walk in, and it's, you know, San Diego's. I've always said San Diego's like 10 years behind a lot of stuff, and we're like, hey, are those two dudes kissing right there? And then, hey, is that two chicks kissing? You know, and we don't, you know, but it, like he says in the end, you're just like, oh, and then you say, how many motherfuckers are in this house? You're like, who's that? Oh, that's DJ Irene. You're like, oh, and you don't, and nothing matters, because you're just like, oh, that's a dude. No, that's DJ. No, it's not. You know, and I remember short hair, you know, with like a big polyester butterfly shirt, and she's just doing this, and then Stacey Hollywood's like, yeah, right, oh, and everyone's just going crazy. So, you know, on my end, in my experience, it was never, oh, that's a chick, she can't DJ. Oh, no, what mattered was, damn, the chick can spin, you know. Oh, she's lesbian, oh, sick. I bet her girlfriend's hot, you know, and that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's at least how, on my end, how, on that perspective, how being somebody from way outside, from San Diego, coming in and just seeing, like, a DJ. And the thing was, the music, like he said, maybe it sounds corny, but when you heard like a track, and I don't know if you guys remember that song, "The Laugh" by Winx, it would start, and it just you hear this laugh, and then out of nowhere, and you see hands, everybody goes crazy, and there's no one's doing drugs, no one's doing, it's just music, you know, and you come out sweating, your shirt's sticking onto you, and people are handing you flyers and stuff, and oh, DJ is gonna be here, okay, cool, oh, she's gonna be in San Diego, guess what, let's go there. So I'm sure everybody on this panel could tell you like a different story, but that's how I saw, where we didn't really notice too much You know what I'm saying? As far as, oh, you know, we were like on her CDs, how many Latinos are in this house? And, oh, you know, we were like all stoked. But nobody else felt alienated, like, oh, there's white people here too, or there's blacks, or there's gay. No, it didn't matter. You know, it was, you know, at least that's how I, you know, what I feel.
Hi, my name is Kendi. I'm really excited to hear this because this is the kind of scene that I grew up in. I'm from Tijuana, by the way, and I've been hearing you a lot, but you're going to TJ. And so first of all, my first question, and before that, let me back up. Sorry, I have so many ideas. I'm so excited for this because it's my first time ever anybody talking about this, and so much that like I didn't even know what EDM was. Like, right? That's EDM. Yeah. No, right? That's like a commercial name. I didn't even know up until like less than a year ago. So it's funny. But my first question is, what was your experience in TJ? And if you guys can share a little bit about that. I shouldn't have been going to those parties, but then again, that's when you started, right? Like junior high, high school, junior high, yeah. And those older siblings, they're always taking you, or those tias, or those people taking you to the parties because they need to take care of you and whatever. So I want to hear a little bit more about your experience in Tijuana or just in TJ, or what, like, how was it, or like maybe compare or whatever, just sharing about it. And for Guadalupe, have you ever thought, I'm sure maybe like of, because I thought about this too, of making like a trans-border and study about these party crews, right? Yeah, if you can share a little bit about that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, well, being from San Diego, Tijuana was always like it's too far to go to LA, let's go to Tijuana. And Tijuana was its own world, because, and unfortunately it's got that bad connotation that, oh, it's like Vegas, anything, you can do anything in TJ. But, say that to the locals in Vegas or the locals in Tijuana. But it was just a lot different, because we would get, these promoters from LA were like, well, okay, let's do something different because everything's happening here, let's do something south of the border. And over there, costs are cheaper, beer's cheaper, entrance, instead of charging $25 to see Humpty Vision and Bad Boy Bill here, you can see them for $5 or $10 down there. And it's all, profit, and it's all, and you can get more people. And but Tijuana was a lot different, just because you had that, okay, it's almost kind of like, I dare anybody here to go a whole day without their cell phone, they feel helpless. It's the same thing in Tijuana, like there's no calling 619, 911, nothing. You're in Tijuana, it's another city. But for a good 4 or 5 years, it was like, that was its peak, where you had, in La Revo, they call it La Revo, you had effects, you had vibe. They kind of started, Tijuana started seeing this, so there was a lot of, there'd be, gay, clubs that played like house music and techno, and, all the cholos got kicked out of here, so they got sent to Animals, and then you had, all the rebels going to Vibe, and then Effects opened up, and it rivaled Vibe. To me, it was different, because you were in another country, and your mom or dad couldn't tell you anything, and it was fun, and it was like-minded people, where it was, when you were that far away, everybody's on their best behavior. Like if you came from LA and you party down there, it's like, I'm not drinking the water, and I don't want to get messed by the cops, so I'm gonna just have fun, you know what I mean? So I think Tijuana gave it a different scene, where you had people from San Diego, LA, and Tijuaneros, like all just kind of partying. So it was definitely, it rivaled it here, just due to the fact that everything was so accessible over there, like a club, a bar, anybody could, going back to the do-it-yourselfers, we all, knew a tío that owned a favor of a bar guy, so we threw a party there and stuff. So yeah, it was the same, I think, if not better over there. And I mean, it was the best of both worlds. You still had Irene, Bad Boy Bill, these top name DJs that actually would go down there and hang out and party, and they were more accessible. Here, like, they're way up there. And in Tijuana, they're like right here, like on a little stand, so you could talk to them and get their autograph and stuff. So yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat your question again?
Sure. Like, have you considered like doing maybe like a trans-border party crew, like
research? Yeah, I mean, I feel that right now we're at the beginnings of this conversation or research, and yeah, I would like to see how, you know, how much it grows, and, you know, just, I guess, see what happens. You know, I just feel like there's so much potential.
One last final question for the night.
I'm Gerard Meras. Thanks for shouting out Power Tools. I was the producer from just 5 years ago. Appreciate. I remember Dose's DJ contest entry. I'll give you pointers later. But thank you for you know, this information and being part of this tradition that, you know, we are all looking at. You know, my work is on the same thing from the trajectory of '79 through the '80s into the rave period, and Lupe's focus here on this '90s section is awesome, because this was, you know, I was the generation right before you in terms of this DJ culture. We were into the clubs and doing the radio while you guys were doing the house parties and getting into your halls or warehouses at the time. I want to ask you, you know, because I heard some of you say I was just in for 3-4 years or whatnot. Why did you stop? I mean, Josh Wink is going to be at Doc Martin's birthday party next month. You know, it's like, it's still going on. LA is still, we are the music capital of the planet now. You know, film, music, everything is rooted here. Every artist comes here to be something. You know, it's no longer New York, it's no longer London, it's LA. And with the rich legacy that we have as Raza, as Chicanos, as Angelinos, you know, shaping DJ culture, you know, why did you guys stop?
Well, I could probably speak to that a little bit. What comes to my mind why I stopped, and I don't think it's necessarily stopped, is it's called responsibility. You know, that's exactly why I had to slow down. That's exactly why I saw peers excel and get into their DJing at higher levels, because I was going to school. Remember, I always had to go to school, you know, and if I didn't, then who knows where I'd be. But I really like where I'm at and what I do, and I can't get there by DJing. I mean, I love the music. That's the one thing I go to. I mean, people tell me to shut my door because my music's too loud and they don't have any understanding of what it is. But I'm working on my cases, making sure people get their benefits. So it's not so much that it stopped. I mean, and I have a lot of friends. Eric Weiss, he's doing well for himself. Tony Kalash, he used to play on Power. They're all professionals. You know, they have their responsibilities. And for someone as like a artist like a DJ, it's kind of, well, do I devote my time into this with a chance of me making it, or do I devote that same time to something with better yield? You know, what's going to be the result if I continue going that direction? And when it's a lot of this, people don't understand. It's not how good you are. A lot of the times, it's about who you know, who's going to get you there. Especially in LA, that's a big LA thing. But the reality is, a lot of times when I see my friends, you know, oh, you still DJ? That's the thing when we haven't seen each other. You still spin? Yeah. Maybe not for everybody like I used to. Maybe not this capacity or that capacity. But yeah, it never goes away. It never goes away. Does anybody forget how to ride a bicycle? No, never. No, nobody does. Why? Because that's something that you can never let go. It's at which capacity are you allowing it to take you? That's the question.
We're gonna have to end our night. I know that there are some questions that are still pending to be asked, but we have a reception in the patio. All of our panelists are going to attend the reception as well. I encourage you to see some of the items from the archive that Guadalupe is putting together on top of the file cabinets on the left-hand side, and also, of course, the memorabilia, right? The pager. You want to know what a pager looks like? Come up to the front of the table. Thank you so much for attending such an amazing event. Thank you to our panelists, and thank you Guadalupe as well.
Everybody,